I was impatient to leave for Mexico, now that I was done, but before I could go, Reinhardt asked for a week in which to decide whether he wanted to do the book. Since he had already given me a contract which allowed him no option not to accept the novel, a common arrangement for writers whose sales are more or less large, any decision to regret the manuscript could cost him a sizable advance. I learned later he had been hoping his lawyers would find the book obscene, but they did not, at least not then in May 1954. So he had really no choice but to agree to put the book out in February, and gloomily he consented. To cheer him a bit, I agreed to his request that he delay paying me my advance until publication, although the first half was due on delivery of the manuscript. I thought the favor might improve our relations. Now, if a few of you are wondering why I did not take my book back and go to another publishing house, the answer is that I was tired. I was badly tired. Only a few weeks before, a doctor had given me tests for the liver, and it had shown itself to be sick and depleted. I was hoping that a few months in Mexico would give me a chance to fill up again. But the next months were not cheerful. The Deer Park had been done as well as I could do it, yet I thought it was probably a minor work, and I did not know if I had any real interest in starting another book. I made efforts, of course. I collected notes, began to piece together a few ideas for a novel given to bullfighting, and another about a concentration camp. I wrote David Reisman Reconsidered during this time, and The Homosexual Villain. Read most of the work of the other writers of my generation. I think I was looking for a level against which to measure my third novel. Went over the galleys when they came, changed a line or two, sent them back. Keeping half busy, I mended a bit, but it was a time of dull drifting. When we came back to New York in October, the Deer Park was already in page proof. By November, the first advertisement was given to Publishers Weekly. Then, with less than 90 days to publication, Stanley Reinhardt told me I would have to take out a small piece of the book. 6 not very explicit lines about the sex of an old producer and a call girl. The moment one was ready to consider losing those 6 lines, they moved into the moral center of the novel. It would be no tonic for my liver to cut them out. But I also knew Reinhardt was serious, and since I was still tired, it seemed a little unreal to try to keep the passage. Like a miser, I had been storing energy to start a new book. I wanted nothing to distract me now. I gave in on a word or two, agreed to rewrite a line, and went home from that particular conference not very impressed with myself. The next morning I called up the editor-in-chief, Ted Armisen, to tell him I had decided the original words had to be put back. "Well, fine," he said. "Fine. I don't know why you agreed to anything in the first place." A day later, Stanley Reinhardt halted publication, stopped all ads. He was too late to catch the first run of Publishers Weekly, which was already on its way to England with a full page for the Deer Park, and broke his contract to do the book. I was started on a trip to find a new publisher, and before I was done, the book had gone to Random House, Knopf, Simon & Schuster, Harper's, Scribner's, and unofficially to Harcourt Brace. Someday it would be fine to give the details, but for now little more than a few lines of dialogue and an editorial report. Bennett Cerf. This novel will set publishing back 20 years. Alfred Knopf to an editor. Is this your idea of the kind of book which should bear a Borzoi imprint? The lawyer for one publishing house complimented me on the 6 lines, word for word, which had excited Reinhardt to break his contract. This lawyer said, "It's admirable the way you get around the problem here." Then he brought out more than 100 objections to other parts of the book. One was the line, "She was lovely, her back was adorable in its contours." I was told that this ought to go because the principals are not married, and so your description puts a favorable interpretation upon a meretricious relationship. Hiram Hayden had lunch with me some time after Random House saw the book. He told me he was responsible for their decision not to do it, and if I did not agree with his taste, I had to admire his honesty. It is rare for an editor to tell a writer the truth. Hayden went on to say that the book never came alive for him, even though he had been ready to welcome it. I can tell you that I picked the book up with anticipation. Of course, I had heard from Bill, and Bill had told me that he didn't like it, but I never pay attention to what one writer says about the work of another.